Look, mommy, I got the ex into taking drugs. I'm in the
You scared me.
Yeah, that's probably the right reaction to have when a creepy dude in a mask sneaks up on you. Today is Friday the 13th, something that feels even more sweetly sinister in October, just a couple weeks before Halloween. And so I thought I'd take a look through the Friday the 13th franchise. In doing so, I came to a startling realization. You guys, I think the reboot is my favorite. Hear me out. I love the franchise as a whole, and Jason is my favorite of the 80s slashers. My actual goalie mask is designed based on his mask in part 7. But if I was gonna sit down and watch one Friday the 13th movie, I think it's the 2009 version. Actually, let me correct that. If I was gonna sit down and watch one Jason movie, it's the 2009 version. The original film is still the best of the series. Jason wielding his machete has become a staple of the franchise, which can make people forget that the first Friday the 13th was essentially a whodunit, without the killer being revealed until the final minutes of the film. Poor Steve Orth lost his life over that piece of trivia.
Name the killer in Friday the 13th.
Jason!
No way.
Listen, it was Jason. I saw that movie 20 goddamn times!
Then you should know Jason's mother, Mrs. Voorhees, was the original killer. Jason didn't show up until the sequel. I'm afraid that was a wrong answer.
Jason doesn't show up until the last shot of the movie when he pops out of the water like an animatronic shark on the Universal tour. And even then, for the rest of the movies in the series to make sense, you have to understand that he wasn't really there. It was Alice's imagination. Because part 2 opens like a year later with an adult Jason causing the havoc we've all grown to love, even if he hadn't yet found his signature look. Part 2, Jason was rocking a sack over his head that had him looking more like the Phantom Killer from The Town That Dreaded Sundown or Bubba from Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, the latter of which actually came out several months after part 2's release. Maybe it was that ambiguity that caused the franchise to seek a more recognizable mask for their killer in part 3. I could easily drift off on a tangent about goalie masks and their history and how insane it was to think that they only showed up in the NHL 23 years before Jason murdered Shelley in a barn and stole his, but I won't. This show is about horror movies and not goalie masks, and I have self-control. Anyway, what was I talking about? Right. Part 3. Here's the crazy part. Parts 2, 3, and 4 all happen consecutively, which means the 3D extravaganza where Jason becomes Jason actually takes place mostly on Sunday the 15th, which doesn't have the same ring to it. And that's what I think I like about the reboot. It has story elements from the first 4 films and presents it pretty efficiently, and Jason is great. Derek Mears is right there with Kane Hodder's portrayal of Jason. It also covers all the tropes established throughout the franchise. At the end of the day, the reboot's only real downfall is that all these people suck. Like, they tick off the archetype boxes, but that's pretty much it. I mean, you're supposed to spend a Friday the 13th movie waiting for people to die, but this was a bit different. And you know what? Now that I've actually talked about them out loud, part 4 is my favorite. I mean, you've got peak Jason, it's got Crispin Glover dancing like this, and it's got Corey Feldman, which in 1984 was actually a good thing. Friday the 13th Part 4 takes place on like Monday the 16th or Tuesday the 17th or something, and introduces the character of Tommy Jarvis, who would be a major part of the franchise for the next 2 films. Feldman introduces the character as a 12-year-old monster kid obsessed with horror movies and whose interest in special effects makeup would ultimately lead to Jason's downfall. A non-Feldman Tommy would come back in the mess that is Part 5, which is sort of like the Friday the 13th version of Halloween 3, but without actually being good. Hashtag Roy sucks. A whole bunch of fans bailed on the series there, and I can't blame them. Part 5 sucks so bad. You'll get people who will argue in defense of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and deservedly so. It's a good 80s horror movie. A New Beginning isn't. Sure, there are some fun scenes in it. Jean Lajoie even wrote a song about the sexual awakening he had during the scene between Tina and Eddie in the woods, but it is definitively the shittiest Friday the 13th movie. But it was immediately followed by the best scene in the whole franchise. Part 6 director Tom McLaughlin's nod to gothic horror films like Frankenstein that has Tommy Jarvis and Horshack trekking through a cemetery and accidentally reanimating Jason's corpse with the help of a wrought iron rod pulled from the graveyard's rusting fence. It introduces full-on zombie Jason and a level of self-awareness that was refreshing after Part 5 fell so far off the rails. Now, speaking of off the rails, things get increasingly crazy from here on out, and it will take a while to get through. So, I'm gonna save it for Fright Hype's Friday the 13th Part 2 coming the next Friday the 13th. If, in the meantime, you need your fix of mass killers getting repetitive, then I have good news. In theaters today is Happy Death Day. The Christopher Landon-directed film follows a self-centered co-ed named Tree as she relives her birthday over and over again, from the awkward encounter with her one-night stand in the morning to her death via mass killer that night. She realizes the only way to escape the loop is to figure out who is behind the mask and keeps killing her, which, you know, is a shitty way to spend your birthday. You can find out if she breaks the loop right now. Happy Death Day is in theaters today. So who had the worst birthday, Jason or Tree? What's your favorite Friday the 13th installment? Let us know in the comments, and remember, Fright Hype and Crypt TV are all over the internet. Until next time, keep the horror on the screen and off the street. I'll see you then.
Watch new scary vids every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.